Section 3. The Design of a Federated Stewardship Village Network. Chapter 12. Designing for Generational Balance. Over long periods of stability, human populations tend to settle into a recognizable demographic pattern, a balance between children, working adults, and elders. Demographers refer to this pattern as a stable population structure. When birth rates remain close to replacement level and life expectancy remains relatively consistent, the age distribution of a population begins to resemble a healthy bell curve. In this structure, children are numerous enough to sustain the future of the community, but do not overwhelm its resources. Working-age adults form the largest segment of the population, providing the labor, leadership, and caregiving necessary for society to function. Elders are present in meaningful numbers, contributing wisdom and cultural continuity, but they do not dominate the structure, to the point that care burdens become unmanageable. In most stable societies, this balance results in a fairly consistent distribution across age groups. This demographic structure emerges naturally in societies where fertility rates remain close to replacement levels, where people commonly live into their 70s and 80s, and where births are spaced in a relatively normal rhythm rather than clustered into extreme booms or collapses. Under those conditions, the responsibilities of care, production, and cultural continuity distribute themselves naturally across the population. However, when this balance breaks down, societies begin to experience structural strain. One increasingly common pattern in the modern world is the aging society. When birth rates collapse below the replacement rate for extended periods of time, the population pyramid begins to invert. Instead of a broad base of children supporting the future workforce, the structure becomes top-heavy with elderly citizens. With fertility rates far below replacement levels, the proportion of elderly citizens grows steadily while the working-age population shrinks. The consequences are significant. Fewer workers must support a larger retired population, economic productivity slows, social welfare systems become strained, and entire regions face demographic contraction. The opposite imbalance can occur as well, producing what demographers call a youth bulge. Throughout history, periods of extremely high birth rates have produced populations in which children and young adults dramatically outnumber mature workers and elders. Rapid population growth produces unusually large cohorts of young people entering adulthood simultaneously. When educational systems and labor markets are unable to absorb these cohorts, the results can include unemployment, social frustration, and political instability. Large youth populations can place immense pressure on schools, housing, and employment systems, creating volatility that stable societies typically avoid. A well-designed community should therefore aim for neither extreme. Stability lies between these two demographic imbalances. The goal is not to eliminate generational diversity, but to maintain it in proportions that allow each generation to fulfill its role without overwhelming the others. Because the village environment emphasizes clean food, preventative care, meaningful work, and a healthy living environment, it is reasonable to expect that individuals will remain active and productive later in life than in many modern societies. Therefore, a healthy village population may have a larger percentage of those above the age of 75 who will still be self-sufficient, socially central, and deeply valuable to village life. So the mean age of the community will be higher, but that doesn't mean the demographics will be unbalanced. To design the network population with generational balance, care must be given to the spread of ages so that as time passes, children will be born at stable rates. One way to do this is to choose the members based on their age spread. One individual of every age from 0 to 100 plus would result in the most even spread and approximately 100 people in a village. While following this plan perfectly might not be possible, matching that pattern as closely as possible would be a good goal. This distribution creates equal-sized cohorts of 15 years to help organize the village structure. The cohorts correspond to stages of development and responsibility. The first cohort is the learners cohort, consisting of ages 0 to 15. During this stage, the focus is on learning, exploration, and development. The second cohort is the apprentice cohort, ages 16 to 30. Apprentices are gaining experience in trades, experimenting with diverse industries, and gradually moving toward full productivity. The third and fourth cohorts are the proficient cohort, ages 31 to 45, and the master cohort. These individuals are typically in their most productive years and form the backbone of the village's economic activity. The fifth cohort is the guide cohort, ages 61 to 75. Guides carry deep expertise in their fields and mentor younger members. The sixth cohort and seventh cohorts are the sage cohort, ages 76 to 90, and the elder cohort, 91 plus. These members hold accumulated wisdom and experience, contributing through guidance, mentorship, caregiving, and passing on history. This cohort structure makes it easier to organize individuals into functional groups that support both work and family life. One of the most important structures is the care group system. Each mother is placed into a care group composed of 5 women representing different life stages. For example, an apprentice-age mother may be grouped with a young, proficient-age mother and a mother/grandmother from the master, guide, and sage cohorts. A parallel system exists for fathers. These groups meet regularly to assess the well-being of mothers and children, the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health of each family member, the health of marriages and family relationships, and the development of the family's economic activity. Together, they complete courses in child development based on the most current scientific research. In this way, young families are never left to navigate parenthood in isolation. Young single people are not left out. They also join care groups with one of each of the older cohorts so they can have support through their navigation of work, roommate, family, and romantic relationships. The support isn't just for the benefit of the youngest members. Each member provides honest feedback and accountability to one another. When challenges arise that exceed the capacity of the group, professional help can be brought in from within the village network. This way, no individual suffers in silence, but is encouraged to reach out for support when needed. Following Dunbar's research, the closest relationships are groups of 5. Care groups have 1 member from each of the middle 5 cohorts, leaving the oldest of them, the elders, to fill another role. Members of this group occupy a special position within the community as mediators between group members. If a disagreement takes place within a care group or a household, or even between members in different households in the village, the elders help resolve conflict. Freed from the pressures of daily production, elders provide a stabilizing presence during periods of social tension. Because of their long life experience and relative neutrality within group and household dynamics, they are uniquely positioned to help resolve conflicts both within households and across the village. Work life in the village is organized through household groups of 15 individuals. These groups live together and participate in the same industry or family business. Members prepare food in a shared kitchen, eat together, and divide household responsibilities into smaller teams so that every person contributes to maintaining the home environment. Each household functions as both a residence and a productive enterprise that contributes goods or services to the village economy. Households should also be designed to maintain a balance of each cohort so that each household is composed of approximately equal numbers of each cohort. To strengthen cohesion within these groups, social activities are intentionally structured at multiple levels. Members interact regularly as a full group of 15, but also in smaller groups of 5 and even smaller groups of 3. Game nights, shared meals, outdoor activities, and collaborative projects rotate through these configurations so that every member develops relationships with every other member in both large and intimate settings. The household business also provides roles for every member of the group. Some roles require physical strength, others technical skill, mental focus, or creativity. Children learn alongside their parents and other adults, applying their academic learning to practical daily work. Education becomes integrated into real life rather than isolated in classrooms. Each village contains 10 households of 15 people. for a total population of 150. Approximately 100 of these individuals, 10 in each household, are permanent members of the village. In addition to the permanent population, each village maintains approximately 50 temporary residency positions. These positions serve multiple purposes. Individuals enter the village through rehabilitation or alignment programs designed to help people transition into the stewardship culture. These temporary residents live and work within the village while being evaluated for long-term compatibility with the community's values and responsibilities. This arrangement creates a natural buffer that stabilizes the village population. If a permanent member moves away, passes away, or transfers to another village, a temporary resident who has demonstrated strong alignment can fill the open position. At the same time, the temporary residency program functions as a training ground for future expansion. Individuals who complete the program may go on to become founding members of new villages or new networks, carrying the culture and practices they learned into new communities. Through this system, the village maintains its ideal size of approximately 150 members while still allowing for longevity, population turnover, and expansion. The result is a demographic structure that balances stability with flexibility, ensuring that the village remains both socially cohesive and capable of growth. As these temporary individuals are added, the demographic balance is kept in mind so that the number of children or elders don't become too large. More details about the process of integration for new members is covered in Chapter 27. Governance is not determined through campaigning or election, but through structured civic rotation so that responsibility is shared fairly without reliance on popularity contests or electoral maneuvering. In this way, governance becomes a rotating civic duty of membership, rather than a pathway for status accumulation. Governance councils are designed with generational balanced structure that ensures that wisdom from older cohorts and fresh perspective from younger cohorts remain in constant dialogue. No single generation or group can quietly accumulate authority over time, because governance responsibility continuously circulates through the entire adult population. Leadership therefore becomes a shared civic practice rather than a permanent position. Every member gains first-hand experience in stewarding the well-being of the village, and every member develops a deeper understanding of the responsibilities required to sustain a cooperative society. The practical responsibilities carried out by these rotating committees, how decisions are made, how work is coordinated, and how conflicts are addressed, are explored in greater detail in the chapter on village governance. The goal of maintaining generational balance in each level of the stewardship community, care groups, households, work groups, and governance committees across the whole network of villages, as new members are born, die, and move from one household to another, one village to another, or in and out of the network, requires a lot of coordination. Without clear systems in place, coordination tends to fall back on a small number of individuals, those who organize roles, assign responsibilities, or informally influence group structure. Over time, even in well-intentioned communities, this can lead to subtle imbalances: favoritism, uneven distribution of labor, social clustering, or the gradual concentration of influence in the hands of a few. To prevent these patterns from emerging, this model introduces what we refer to as computational coordination systems. A computational coordination system is not a governing authority, nor is it a decision-making body. It is a structured tool, similar in principle to a scheduling system or resource allocator, that assists the community in organizing participation in a way that is fair, transparent, and consistent over time. Rather than relying on individuals to determine how households are formed, how care responsibilities are distributed, or how governance roles are assigned, these systems use clearly defined rules to generate balanced groupings. They are designed to reduce bias, prevent the accumulation of informal power, and ensure that responsibilities are shared equitably across the community. Importantly, these systems do not evaluate people, rank individuals, or attempt to shape behavior. They operate only on a limited set of structural information, such as age groups, skills, and participation history, to support the logistical organization of community life. In this way, computational coordination serves a very specific function. It replaces informal, person-dependent organization with transparent, rule-based structure, while leaving human judgment, relationships, and culture firmly in human hands. The integrity of a stewardship-based society depends not only on how decisions are made, but on what information is allowed to inform those decisions. For this reason, the community's coordination systems are governed by strict data boundaries designed to protect individual dignity, prevent coercion, and eliminate the possibility of behavioral control systems. The role of computational systems within the network is limited to structural coordination only. These systems are not designed to evaluate individuals, shape belief, or regulate personal behavior. They exist solely to assist in organizing households, distributing responsibilities, and maintaining demographic balance across the community. To preserve this boundary, the system is intentionally restricted in the types of data it is permitted to store and process. The coordination system may access only the minimum information necessary to support fair and balanced participation in community life. This includes the age cohort classification, the general physical capability, skills, training, and areas of competency, household and family relationships, participation history and rotating roles, and stated availability or capacity for responsibilities. This information is used exclusively to ensure that responsibilities are distributed equitably, that households remain balanced, and that no individual or group carries a disproportionate burden over time. The system is explicitly forbidden from collecting, storing, or processing any data related to personal behavior, belief, or social conformity. This includes, but is not limited to, behavioral scoring or reputation systems, political, religious, or ideological beliefs, personality profiling or psychological ranking, social approval or disapproval metrics, informal reports, gossip, or subjective evaluations, or any form of compliance or loyalty tracking. No individual is ranked, scored, or evaluated by the system. There is no mechanism by which a person's worth, standing, or access to community life can be increased or diminished based on behavioral data. Under no circumstances will the network implement any form of social credit system. Participation in community life is not conditional upon algorithmic approval. There are no hidden scores, no invisible thresholds, and no automated rewards or punishments tied to personal conduct. Conflict resolution, accountability, and ethical concerns are handled through human-centered processes such as mediation, restorative dialogue, and community review, not through automated systems. All coordination algorithms, input categories, and assignment rules are open and accessible to all members of the community. Every assignment generated by the system can be traced back to its inputs and constraints. There are no hidden variables, undisclosed weighting systems, or opaque decision-making processes. Regular audits, both within and across villages, ensure that the system continues to operate within its defined boundaries. The system retains only the data necessary for current coordination and does not maintain indefinite records. Participation history and role data are periodically reset or archived in a way that prevents long-term profiling. The system is not designed to build permanent records of individual activity over time. Human oversight exists to verify that the system is functioning correctly, not to override it for personal or political reasons. Adjustments to assignments may only be made in clearly defined circumstances, such as health needs, caregiving responsibilities, or safety concerns. All adjustments are documented and subject to review. No individual or committee has the authority to use the system to advantage specific people, groups, or outcomes. The community recognizes a clear boundary between coordination and control. It organizes how people participate. It does not define who they are. Private life, personal belief, and individual expression remain outside the reach of any computational system. This boundary is essential to preserving human dignity and preventing the gradual emergence of coercive structures. The use of technology in this model is not to measure or manage people, but to remove bias, distribute responsibility fairly, and protect the community from the concentration of power. By limiting what the system is allowed to know, the community ensures that it cannot become a tool for control.